In this power tip for becoming an outstanding keynote speaker, I'm going to talk about keeping your keynote alive, evolving, developing. Now, in the old world, people typically think a keynote is a locked, dead set of slides, and producers will often ask for those slides, audiences will ask for them afterwards, and the assumption is that most keynote speakers have one deck, they've developed their deck, and they can send it in an email and it's done. I say that is a big error. If you really want to create impact, if you really want to fit the brief you've been given for your event, to really tailor what you're saying and how you're saying it to your audience, that specific audience. In that specific moment, that audience will never be together again, you will never be with them again, and it will never be that date in the world again. So we have this amazing opportunity to customize and tailor and to bring full aliveness, not just in our energy and our ability to help the audience feel alive, that's another power tip, but in keeping the story alive. So what I mean by that is, in the weeks and days before a keynote, as I get closer to go time, to being on stage, my consciousness, my awareness starts to get more and more involved in that particular client or conference or event and the audience or the company or the brand or the product, whatever it is I'm going to talk, whoever I'm going to talk to, I get more and more involved in that. I've taken the brief, I've had usually 1 hour, maybe 2 hours of briefing from the company. I've written them some bullet points. I thought what will really land for them. And then in those weeks and days, I start to customize and I start to develop the unique story I'm going to say. Now, of course, some of it is the same as I always say. It's the slides I've always used. But as I go through the specific slide journey, which is really there to help me to form a coherent narrative, I start to add slides, take away slides, or I remember old slides I haven't used for a while that actually, that would be great for this particular client. Or I'll create a new case study or a new example, or I'll pop something in from the news, either that morning at breakfast, I usually go through my slides one last time, or from the flight yesterday, or something I saw, or bring a new prop in, and I'll cover that in another power tip. But what I'm not doing is killing the slides so that they're dead. Now, this creates some tension sometimes in the space between the keynote speaker and the production team. So the production team don't really care about the content. That's not their job. They don't really worry about what your genius has got to say. They want the event to go smoothly. They want you to be on time and to leave on time. Most of them have, I imagine, some trauma from a speaker whose slides didn't work. They wanted to bring their own laptop. It wouldn't fit, particularly 20 years ago, 15 years ago. Or they're not very good at keynote speaking, or they don't understand PowerPoint, and the slides die, the laptop dies, something goes wrong. And the overwhelming challenge of a producer is to stop things going wrong that are embarrassing, that disturb the conference or the event. And I get that fully. If you're watching me as a producer, I fully understand that. However, someone like me as a professional, we understand all that and we get all that. So I will always ask for a lead, an HDMI cord, so I can put my laptop at the front where I'm speaking. There's a number of reasons for this. Firstly, it means I can continue developing my story literally up to maybe half an hour, 45 minutes before the event, or before I give them my laptop, which can be 2 hours ahead or an hour ahead of my keynote. And that way I can go, I kid you not, I've had in between meeting the CEO of a company or the chair of a conference or a panelist who's going to be speaking later, and we've had a conversation. In that conversation, I've realized there's a better way of saying something or something else I want to add that brings my keynote, that story, to be the best I can be on that day. I will actually go on the slides and change them. or add an image or take a photo of something and put it on. Here's a picture of me earlier with your CEO. And it blows people away because it's so real. And then they realize this is not the keynote where the guy's given it 483 times and this is 484th time. It means you are fully respecting and honoring this keynote in this audience for this company or this conference at this time. And it really changes in for the audience. The second thing that happens if I have my laptop at the front, all in the spirit of keeping the story alive. Keep the story alive is the power tip of this video. See, I'm realizing things as I speak. Is that I can, if necessary, stop the slides, go back, find a slide from another presentation if someone asks for something. And crucially, if that audience I can feel is really enjoying this part of the story, it means I won't have time for the rest of the story. If your slides are locked, you just have to keep going through them. And if you're going to skip slides, it's embarrassing and awkward and just doesn't feel good for the audience. What I can do is I can come out, zip 4 slides ahead or 5 slides and carry on the story as if nothing happened. They won't know. But I've honored that audience by speaking more about something that I could see was lighting them up and bringing them to life. And I will then downplay some other part of the story. And because when you're live, you can only ever predict what the story will be for that 45 minutes. And just as we love improvisation in comedy and in sometimes the best bits of films you find out were actually improvised in the moment, it's the same with a keynote. In fact, even more so because it's not being filmed usually for, release for $500 million of marketing. It's for that moment, that day. They might film it, but it doesn't matter if you're improvising. And so if you cut away the capacity for a keynote speaker to improvise into that particular unique second where the story can go and deliver more impact. That's what we're trying to do. Keep the story alive because then we can deliver more impact, more motivation, more inspiration, more aliveness, and more transformation. So be brave. Not just customize your keynote in advance, but keep the story alive so that you can do the best you can do for that audience, that event, on that moment of that day. Now, don't forget to follow me, like this, share it with anyone who might be needing this insight, and feel free to reach out and ask me any questions you have about the art, the science, and the craft of keynote speaking.